Pizza guys/girls, does your shop have a no delivery list? What houses are on it and why? Story 1. I delivered to the dorms when I was in college, back before credit cards could be used to pay for pizza. In the largest men's dorm, we had a war with some of the residents after they got pissed when we wouldn't accept an expired coupon for a 14 pizza order. So they kept calling us up with ghost orders and making life hell for us over the course of a few weeks. So we stopped delivering to anyone in that dorm. As we were the cheapest pizza in town, that didn't go well with them. The RAs got every student in that dorm together and told them to knock the f off or get kicked out. So we tried to deliver again, and the same thing happened. We banned that dorm forever, and it was cool by me because those idiots would place 5 to 20 pizza orders and tip $2. Edit. It was the mid-80s and there was no caller ID. Most of the students used the wall of payphones we had in the lobby. But some rooms had their own phones. Regardless, there was no way of knowing who was calling. Story 2. I was delivering for Godfathers in Memphis in 1988, where we had no delivery houses as well as areas. We had one area smack dab in the middle of our normal delivery zone that was blocked out, and it was a low-income apartment complex. We got a new manager who was eager to put up his numbers, so quickly changed that area to be a legit delivery area. The first time he handed me an order for that complex, I explained that it was a real crap complex, and we didn't go there for a reason. He accused me of being racist because I didn't want to deliver to the complex. The complex was all black, I was white, and the manager was black, and said just to deliver it and quit complaining. So I drive it out there and walk upstairs to the apartment door. I knocked but got left without an answer, so I look a bit closer and it is obviously a vacant apartment. I head back to my car and I'm sorting my money bag and next order when I glance up in the rearview mirror. I see 3 bad-looking dudes crossing the parking lot heading right for my car, and I noticed one of them is carrying a rifle. I cranked up my old VW Rabbit, threw it in reverse and hauled out of the lot. I got back to the shop and the new manager accused me of making it all up and said he didn't think I had even attempted to deliver it. He says to go back out there. I say, no freaking way, dude. He insists, so I insist he comes with me and he agrees. We drive back out there, he carries the pizza up the stairs, realizes that it is a vacant apartment and quickly gets back in the car. Sorry dude, you were right, it was a setup. We got back to the shop and he marked the whole area off limits again. Edit. I only mentioned racism because my manager said I was too scared to deliver to a black part of town because I was white and that I would have no problem with going to the poor white parts of town. It wasn't true. He was not some black racist. I wasn't some white racist. He wasn't a horrible actor. Anyway, I was pissed, so quit to go work for Garibaldi's in Midtown a month later, where the food and tips are far better. Reply 1. My brother carried a police baton for about 6 months and had a taser on him and pepper spray in the car. Then he looked at it objectively and decided a job that made you even think you needed that kind of stuff was not worth having. Story 3. I used to deliver sandwiches to a shop and we had to blacklist this one lady who would call up at the last minute and demand 50 to 100 sandwiches for her meetings, and she wanted them delivered in 15 minutes. We explained things to her over and over again that this was not how it worked, but she still demanded her order. So when it showed up 45 minutes later than expected, she became a monster, causing a scene, not tipping, sending in complaints to the district manager, etc. This happened so many times. And finally, one day, she called in an order of 200 sandwiches and wanted it in 15 minutes. I delivered it myself, and she took the sandwiches from me for her meeting. I sat there and waited for her to sign the receipt. Turns out, she took the sandwiches into her meeting and booked the hell out of there, not signing the receipt. She then called her bank to cancel the charge on her credit card and called us in for fraud. She had the nerve to call up her district manager and said that we owed this to her since all of her orders were late. She was blacklisted after that, and my district manager finally apologized for not believing me on this story. Drug reps are the worst. Story 4. I delivered pizza in New Jersey. I went on the porch to see a snarling Rottweiler behind the door. Not a big deal, it happens a lot. I'm a stranger and the dog is just being a dog. The lady pushes him back, we do the pizza transaction, and as I'm turning to go, the lady said, "Oh my god, he's out." The back door was open and the dog was charging around the house, about to come on the porch. I quickly opened the door to run inside, but the lady screamed, "No! The really bad one is inside," and I saw a big Roddy just inside the hall. So I stuck myself between the screen door and the rear door, and I'm trapped in an angry dog sandwich. The outside dog bites my calf because I can only close the screen door so much. Not much damage, but I'm bleeding. The manager goes to talk with the lady. It's like 1/8 of a mile from the store, or that lazy idiot wouldn't have bothered. And Roddies are penned up out back. As soon as the lady starts talking to him, another small mutt zips out the door and bites him on the hand. He made the call to no more pizza for them. Story 5. We had a guy and 2 girls order separately, then grab the pizzas and run. The girls had picked the food up and left while the guy was paying. After 30 seconds, the guy bolted, and it was a $100 order. My manager, who was a frequent gym goer, leaped the counter and gave chase. The 2 girls had gotten into a car and when they saw my manager, they drove off, leaving the guy. My manager chased him 3 blocks and was gaining on the guy when the girls pulled up and the guy got into the car. Unfortunately, all 3 of them went to school with the kitchen hand at the store, so we had names, jobs, addresses, and Facebook accounts. We contacted them all on Facebook and got them to pay for the pizzas the next morning under the threat of contacting the police. We also put them on the no delivery list. Whoa, what a wild chase. Kudos to your manager for being so determined. It's infuriating when people think they can get away with something like this, but justice prevailed in the end. It's impressive how technology helped you track them down through Facebook. Hopefully, they learned their lesson and won't pull a stunt like this again. Story 6. Working at Papa John's, the only place on the no delivery list were bounced checks. We had one driver get his knee bashed sideways with a baseball bat and money stolen. I delivered to the same place the next night. They didn't care about getting robbed because the driver is only supposed to have $25 max on him at all times. So everything over that $25 the driver had to pay for. This driver, I think, had to pay around $125 after being assaulted. Edit. I wanted to clarify about carrying cash. We were told, for this very reason, that after every delivery, usually 2 to 3 houses, when you come back to the store, you put all the money in your drop box. Obviously, if you got $60 cash on a delivery, the store wouldn't make you pay for that, but they had a record of how much the order was and how they paid. Story 7. Our greedy owner refused to develop such a list, even after 2 of our drivers were mugged at the same house. They wouldn't let us avoid neighborhoods, no matter how unsafe, no matter what time of the day. Story 8. I'm on the no delivery list of 2 restaurants because my roommate is a frickin' idiot and can't do the math to save his life. He once sent a driver away after a heated conversation with a 25-cent tip. Unfortunately, I was in the shower at the time. It wasn't until afterward, when he was explaining the situation to me, that I realized what a moron he was. The bill came to $20.25. He gave the guy $20 and thought it was a good tip because we ordered 2 sandwiches that are basically $7 a piece and a $1 soda for a total of $15. So a $5 tip. In actuality, the sandwiches were $7.99 and the soda was $1.99, so $18 right there. Then there was a $2.25 delivery fee, so $20.25. Unfortunately, the delivery guy spoke almost zero English, so all he could say was "not enough" to my roommate. And my roommate is an ass who wouldn't read the damned receipt. He is no longer allowed to answer the door. Story 9. When I worked at a pizza place, we just had one person that we wouldn't deliver to because he would always refuse to pay and hassle the delivery guy, saying the pizza was cold, took too long, wasn't the right order, whatever. He probably got a couple of free pizzas at least before we stopped bothering sending him any more. It's honestly astonishing how some people choose to exploit goodwill. It's a real shame when one bad apple spoils it for the rest, especially for the hardworking delivery guys who don't deserve the hassle. Cutting off his pizza privilege was the right move, in my opinion. Story 10. We had a really nasty apartment complex in one area of Sacramento. Totally a no. One night, a new guy took an order and actually accepted one from there. I was about to call back and say no. I was assistant manager at the time, but running pizzas that day, when I come to 2 cops to pick up their pizza. They listen in and offer a tag-along. I was dumb and crazy then, so we made the pizza and I loaded it into my little truck and drove out there. As soon as we pull into the parking lot, the cop turns off all his lights and coasts into the spot next to mine. I walk up, start the spiel, and start listening to their story of this guy and that guy ordering it. I started to walk away and one of the shady dudes stepped out of the bushes next to me where he'd been hiding. Instantly, every light came on the cop car, flashers, both spotlights pointing right at me. The cops getting out of the car, fast. The dude steps away back. I walk back to my car, and a couple of cops got an extra free pizza that night. And I got a great story. Story 11. I'm sure I'm too late for this to really be seen, but here's my positive story. I delivered for a while in college, and there were 2 we don't deliver there neighborhoods. The manager actually allowed it to be the driver's choice, but pretty much everyone said no. I actually had a friend who grew up in one of these neighborhoods, and I knew it wasn't just drug dealing and psychopaths running rampant. So I said yes, and I delivered to these neighborhoods. One time I was delivering to an apartment that was part of a triplex or quadplex, and some kid outside, probably like 5 or 6 years old, stuck his finger at me and said, "This is a robbery. Give me your money." I just chuckled and kept walking. While I was giving the person their pizza, I heard from behind me, "What the hell are you doing, boy? Don't you know that this is the only one who delivers here?" Then, as I was walking back to my car, he was standing on the sidewalk, Mum several feet behind him, and he said, "I'm sorry." Story 12. Worked at Hungry Howie's Pizza in college, and they are basically a cheap discount pizza chain. We had a few stores in a college town, and mine served the local college campus and the areas out west and south. These included the bad parts of town. We had a list of about 10 or so neighborhoods or streets we did not deliver to because drivers had been robbed, one of which was a rather large government housing project. That never went over well when I had to explain it to people. They often yelled at me like it was my idea or called me a racist. We also refused to hire female drivers because of an incident before I was hired. A group of people made multiple fake calls throughout the night to different addresses until a female driver showed up. When she did, they kidnapped her and did stuff to her for days. But luckily, she lived. The cops spotted the car a couple of days later with 4 of her attackers in it. It was in Florida. Edit. Another story. One of our drivers was a kind of crazy homeless guy who had some anger management issues. One time, a dude pulled a on him while he was still in his car. He was having a bad day, so he just grabbed the barrel, pointed it forward, and floored the gas pedal. He also used to sunbathe in his white briefs in the nasty parking lot behind the store while laying out on old pizza boxes. The decision to stop hiring female drivers may be contentious, but the safety of employees must come first. Also, that homeless guy seems to have an indomitable spirit. It's hard to ignore the systemic issues here that make such jobs perilous. There's an urgent need for stronger safety measures for delivery personnel. Story 13. In the late 90s, I was still living in Detroit and in between desk jobs, so I delivered pizza as a part-time gig. Detroit's neighborhoods had been rough for a couple decades now, but the 90s seemed like they were on their own level. I won't say the specific neighborhood, but there were some really rough ones. This one house was just in awful shape. I kind of figured this would be bad even as I was driving down the street to get there. Every other house literally was either burned out or very obviously abandoned. This one was just crappy looking, but I tried to be optimistic. I walked up to the door, awning kind of drooping over my head, and knocked. Almost instantly, the door cracked open, and all I saw was a dark hand with what looked like a Glock. "Leave the pizza and walk away." I complied, obviously, and told my manager that I wouldn't be delivered to that neighborhood anymore. Still stuck around with that job for another 8 months or so, but that was probably the only thing on that level I've seen. Story 14. One time I worked for this lady that owned Nerdani's Pizza in Atascadero, California. She was the worst person ever. No one ever worked there longer than a couple of months, and just craps on everybody. She didn't have a no-delivery list, but what she did have that was even worse was her personal whitelist delivery book that had every single good tipper in the world on it. Example, delivery boy gets back and goes, "Whoa, that guy tipped me $20. The owner then writes down that order/number/name in her book. Next time that guy calls to order a pizza, she doesn't let anyone else deliver, she takes the delivery. No one knew this trick, and she just kept taking orders from all the newbies. I worked there for about 4 months and caught on after the first month or so. After that, I spent the next few months claiming that the horrible tippers were amazing tippers. I would watch her go to these repeat customers and come back with a disgusted look on her face. I would ask her what was wrong, but she didn't want to talk about it. By the way, the pizza owner would write down all the big tippers, and she would only deliver to them, not share tips or anything. I eventually started claiming the people that tipped horribly to be amazing tippers. Hilarity ensued. Story 15. Prior to my freshman year of college, 2002, I was delivering pizzas for Pizza Hut in a decent suburb outside of Cleveland. I was the typical stoner/partier, easygoing delivery guy. As a little background, one afternoon, my manager requested I go change several $100s for smaller bills for our register. As I'm leaving the bank after getting changed and getting into my car, I sense someone approaching from behind and suspect they're going to ask me for a cig. Nope, instead it's a dude with pantyhose on his head and a knife who demands the money I have in my pocket and my keys. I oblige, and he ultimately runs off and tosses my keys in the parking lot where I can see. When I ran into the bank, no one at all saw the incident, and wouldn't you know, when they pulled the footage, there was a sun glare in the exact spot on the window where my car was parked. The cops interrogate me and search the car, but seem to conclude that, in fact, I was telling the truth. My manager even vouched for me, saying that I was a good kid. Flash forward to about 10 years, and I'm telling the story at a party, and bam, it hits me. My manager, who often dated unsavory characters, set up the whole thing. Considering I was robbed in front of a bank in broad daylight on the busiest street in my town, who the hell would know to rob me? Especially since I hadn't put my car topper on at this point. Story 16. Apparently, our entire complex is on the Do Not Deliver After Dark list at a local pizza place. That was encouraging to find out a week after moving in. Story 17. A co-worker and friend of mine got a delivery one night. Before he left, our manager pulled him into the office, gave him a pair of latex gloves, and instructed him to use them to put the money in an envelope. He was confused but didn't ask many questions. He says when he got to the house, there was actual caution tape around the yard and a sign that said something like, "Warning, infestation." He is somewhat of a germaphobe to begin with, so at this point, he really doesn't want to go up to the door. But he has to deliver the pizza. The woman who answers the door is grotesque and is covered in red splotches and potentially bites of some kind. He quickly hands her the pizza, carefully takes her money with the gloves on, and stuffs it in the envelope, and sprints back to his car. He threw a fit when he got back to the store, and the manager felt so bad, she put the house on the blacklist. He said he scrubbed his hands till they were red afterward. I think it was bed bugs or scabies or something. We'll never know. Whoa, that's downright a nightmarish scenario. No delivery person should have to go through something like that. It seems like there should be a basic expectation of safety and hygiene when delivering to someone's house. Story 18. Been a delivery driver for 8 years, and the only place I worked with a blacklist was in Davenport. Our store was in a really rough area, the kind of neighborhood with glass between you and your gas station clerk. Also had 50-cent cans of Old Milwaukee's Best and PBR next to the register. Anyway, on my first day, one of the drivers got maced and pistol whipped for $32. We eventually found out the person who set it up was the assistant manager because she didn't like him. The store was robbed so frequently that it refused to accept carry-out orders after sundown, yet they had no problem sending us drivers into the middle of the ghetto with food and cash. In-shop employees weren't allowed outside after sundown, so trash was never taken out until the next day, and employees took their smoke breaks in the back corner of the pizza store. The places on the list were listed because drivers had been robbed there. No matter how rough the area was, we would still deliver there until someone got robbed. Then we would blacklist everywhere within 3 to 4 blocks.
Please leave your story down below in the comments. I would absolutely love to make a video about them in the future. And also don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, peace.